Hello and welcome to this edition of the Clyde Shirati Show. My name is Clyde Shirati, and I'm very excited because we are getting very close to the Brisbane Summit. You probably have seen the introduction of this show. It's day 10. In fact, it's day 12, but we're going to be closing the box office, so to speak. The ticket, we'll stop selling the tickets 2 days before the event. So it's now countdown day 10 before the Afropreneur Summit takes place in Brisbane. It's the inaugural Brisbane Summit because we've never been in Brisbane before. We're very excited that there is a lot of interest in this wonderful and exceptional event that brings together aspiring, emerging, and established Afro entrepreneurs in the city of Brisbane. So, in this edition of the Clyde Shirati Show, I'm going to be trying to kind of really unpack a little bit what is it that we talk about in the summit, what are some of the topics that we address, and how is that valuable for those of you who may still be wondering whether you should attend or not. So I will be going into details, but it will be right after this. Thank you. So, the Brisbane Summit is happening on the 14th of September. Tickets are going out fast. Please grab your ticket. But in this edition of the Cloud Shirati Show, I'm going to try to really go through how we frame the whole summit. We've had other publications where we talked about why is this summit important and what can you expect to learn or to receive. What are the benefits or the advantages of attending the summit? I am going now on this particular on this occasion. I'm going to try to go through how we frame the summit. Basically, the summit is a combination of presentations, panel discussions, workshops, a business exhibition, and structured networking opportunities. You got these five things that are put together. It's a packed day that starts early in the morning in the Brisbane Summit. Those will open at 8:15, and they will close. I mean, we will finish at about 4:45. So it's a whole day event where food and drink are provided, and we're trying to make sure that whoever attends gets a lot of value as much as they can also give value, because it's not just about getting something, it's also about giving something. And those of us who are in sort of community advocacy and in the business, we understand that when you are active in your project or whatever you're doing, you don't just want to receive, you also want to give, because there's actually more pleasure in giving than in receiving. So with all those presentations and panel discussions and workshops and everything, we try now to address key topics that will deliver value for anyone who is interested in business. So we start usually because this is the inaugural summit in the Brisbane area, or in the Queensland states, and Brisbane, both metro and regional Brisbane. We want to make sure that everyone who attends will really be impacted in a very negative, sorry, in a very positive way, so that they don't have any negative picture left about the summit. And that way, for the next session, because we'll be organizing this every year moving forward, and we want people to go and tell their friends about these wonderful events and what they have gained from it. And also, we want people to use what they receive from the summit to be able to make a difference in their lives, whether they are just wanting to get into business, because we know there's a lot of people, a lot of African professionals out there who have been holding jobs for so many years. They've kind of gotten very comfortable and they forget that they can actually do more. You can start a business on the side, or they can go full on in business using the skills and the competencies that they have developed from their job. We have to have that mindset of, building and developing businesses, not just the job mindset that has characterized our communities for so long. And I'm really excited that I'm starting to see this happening. Obviously, there is a global entrepreneurship narrative that is going around, and our community is catching up to that. But we're still quite far behind in terms of where we are supposed to be. Now, in the summit, we will talk about entrepreneurship mindset and self leadership skills. This is actually the very first after the keynote presentation. There will be the ceremonial speeches that will take place, and then there will be a keynote presentation. This time in Brisbane, we'll be having a dual keynote presentation of two entrepreneurs who have you know left their employment positions to deploy themselves into business, and who are actually doing quite well. And then the very first panel discussion that will take place is about entrepreneurship mindset and self-leadership skills. A lot of times we talk about mindset, but for me, I have a feeling that when people talk about mindset, they're more talking about others than they're talking about themselves. Same with leadership. When people talk about leadership, they talk about uh, the leadership that is coming from others rather than their own leadership. What is that we call self leadership. So we're trying to really actually get people to think about themselves in terms of what is happening in their mindset and how they can improve their own self leadership to make the decisions they ought to make and take the steps that need to be taken in order for them to move from employment to business deployment, because that's one of the main objectives of the summit is to get people to move from employment to business deployment, where they create, develop, and scale up their businesses. So, what is actually a mindset? Because I know everybody understands what it is, but sometimes it pays to go a little deeper into these sort of things so that we can reflect on ourselves, and that's part of the thing we do at the summit. I think a broad definition of mindset is just that. How do I put it? It's a combination of our attitude, beliefs, and mental predispositions that just sort of shapes how we see things, how we uh, behave and interact with others, and how we look at challenges and opportunities, how we focus on things or not focus on them. All those mental attitudes, beliefs, and predispositions and perceptions, they form the mindset. Now, the key question that we're trying to address in the summit is, how do you actually develop a business mindset? What are the practical steps that you need to take? And I'm not going to obviously talk about this in a whole lot of details here, but I'll just mention a few things that will be discussed. And this discussion is not so much from an academic perspective, because there's a lot of knowledge out there these days, whether it's academic or simply the knowledge the ambient knowledge, so to speak, that you can pick up from the internet and other places. People have a lot of head knowledge, but what they don't have is the practical knowledge of things. And we're trying to be really practical in our discussion. So we look at how do we help people to develop uh, business mindset. A lot of you will probably remember that when you talk about mindset, there's usually this concept of growth and fixed mindset that comes up. Everybody knows, growth mindset, where you focus really on growing, and you don't limit yourself on things, even though you may meet challenges, but you can actually overcome if you keep on learning, if you keep on holding that attitude that you can do more, you can achieve more, you can become a better person, and you can actually achieve a lot more than what you may think otherwise. So uh, I'm not talking about that now, but that's important to actually mention, because growth mindset is at the center of professional and business growth. If you are a professional, you need to have that growth mindset that will enable you to learn what you need to learn. Have that right attitude at work, so that you use every opportunity to not just learn, but to help and be able to demonstrate your skills as a potential leader, as a potential manager, if you're not already, or just being able to give value to your employer so that they'll think twice about getting rid of you. And then I'll just mention a few practical steps with regards to developing the right mindset. Well, you have to have that. We have to practice self-reflection. That's what it comes down to. If you want to improve anything in your mindset, you have to think of how you think. You need to think about your thinking, and a lot of people don't think about their thinking. We think about a whole lot of things, but we don't see ourselves thinking. And it's important for anyone who is interested in growing that they all the time look at how they're thinking and whether their thinking is right or not, and how that is affecting whatever objectives and goals that they have. Another thing is about to expose yourself to different things. You got to read, you got to learn new things. You have to, maybe go to events and meet people who maybe don't think like you, who have experiences that you don't have. All that is part of what you need to do to improve your mindset. You have to also be strategic. You have to have goals that you can break into, long-term, mid-term, and short-term goals. But you thinking about how you're going to achieve them. It starts with having a dream. Having ambition, because that's also important. You need to achieve things. You have to want to achieve things, and that is critical for the development of the right mindset. And then you also need to be connected to the right people. This is critical. Everyone who's in business, for example, knows that networking is very important. It's as valuable, sometimes even more valuable than financial capital, because you can actually get people to work with who can finance your project, even if you don't have money. So, but you need to connect with the right people. You need to find where they are. You can't just wait for them to come to you. You need to go to them. And that helps also to shape your mindset, to change things in your mindset when you meet people with different experiences and perspectives. And then ultimately, it comes down to how you spend your time and your money. In order for you to change your mindset, you gotta just to look at how you spend your time and money. Are you spending your time in learning, in connecting with new people, in basically enriching your perspective in a variety of things? If you're not, then perhaps not much is changing in your mindset. Are you reading stuff that you need to know for the particular ambitions that you have, the particular goals and dreams that you have? Because if you don't bring new things to your consciousness, it's very difficult for you to grow. You have to nurture your mind, you have to nurture your consciousness and everything that is part of you. And obviously, you need also to spend money, because that's also a big problem in our community. I see a lot of people know what to do, but they don't do it because sometimes it's just they don't want to spend any money. Right now, for example, we're saying this summit is very important if you are interested in business. Well, people look at the ticket $120, or for discounted ticket are still available for about $100. They'll look at that. Oh, that's quite a bit of money. But let's try this. If I give you $120 and say, okay, go and have McDonald's every day, spend $20 for a week or for 6 days, compared to, okay, take this $120 and go and meet six people who have a lot of experience in business, or who have a lot of experience in your particular career or anything you are interested in, and they may be able to help you. Which one would you choose? I'm sure you would want to choose the people, because well, food is, we have food every day, and then we have to go to the bathroom. It's a bit funny, but people uh, can bring a lot of things into your life, things that you perhaps could not even suspect that will happen, but they will come to your life through people. So the summit provides you with an opportunity to meet people who can actually bring some new perspectives, who can give you wonderful advice, and who can also assist you in one way or another in your project. And people who are in business understand this very well, and people who have a growth mindset understand this. So these are part of the things that we talk about during the summit. Now, and I'm not going to go into everything. I'm just giving you a little bit of an idea of some of these very important things. And our summit discussions are very, very practical. We want to hear from people who've been there and done that. We don't want to hear from academics, although we have some academics from time to time, but academics can also be entrepreneurial. Some of them are. others are not. But our discussions, our presentations, are really from people who have the experience and who can teach you from what they have gone through or what they have seen and how that has enriched their own perspective in whether it's in business or in some social enterprise that they are connected to. Because again, that's another thing we need to mention here. The summit is not just for commercial entrepreneurship, it is also for social entrepreneurship. So I'm going to take a little break, and when I come back, we'll talk more about some of the other things that we do during the summit. All right. The other thing that we talk about in the summit is how to start, plan, and how to plan, sorry, plan, start, and manage your business. Yes, because if you want to get into business, if you want to get into in any project really that is important, you got to plan, and then you got to start, and then you got to manage things when you start. So we talk about that, some of the practical terms, and in order for you to be successful in these sort of things, you have to have essential business skills, essential skills for the thing that you are handling, that you are creating, that you are putting together. So because we talk about business at the summit, so we have specific discussions that talk about the essential business management skills, and we ask people who are in business, who have been there and done that, to talk about how they have developed their business project from the beginning, when they just started thinking about it, to when they crossed that line from I don't want to be just a 9 to 5 employee. I want to be able to have my own business and start my own project and do my own things, because one of the greatest benefits of creating a business and being successful in it is it gives you a lot of freedom. You're no longer just limited to the 9 to 5, and you can do things that you perhaps have always thought of doing, but you couldn't do it because you are tied up in that 9 to 5, and that it takes about an hour to drive to work, or to travel to work and come back. By the time you prepare yourself and all that, it's like 12 to 14 hours you're spending every single day. Now, there's nothing wrong with employment. It is good up to a certain extent. But what we're trying to encourage in our community is that people think more about starting a business, developing that business mindset. And it can start with part time or just on the side sort of thing. And then once it grows, you can then quit your job and just focus on business. And that is very important. So, apart from that, we also talk about marketing and business growth, because once you've started a business, and that's probably the easiest thing, start a business, and then you got to grow it, you got to develop. Most businesses die within the first 2 to 5 years. That's probably over 50% of businesses that die. So you can start a business, you need to work hard to make sure that it doesn't die, and it depends on now your leadership skills. Remember, in the beginning, I talked about I talked about mindset and self leadership. I didn't specifically go into a lot of details about self leadership, but I'll sort of mention it now. Self leadership is really about how you can have a vision, you can have a good project, you can have skills to do to start a business. But when you now take action, you're going to have to deal with the practical things, and in managing your time, managing your emotions, managing the multiple things that you have to juggle with. And that is basically where you need good level of self-leadership to be able to achieve those things. And you learn that it doesn't come automatically as you handle stuff. One thing I've seen today is people are very busy, but in that busyness, sometimes there's not much that is achieved. So how do you change that? How do you achieve more with less time? That is also something you get to learn with the self leadership discussions that we hold at the summit. So again, we don't have time to go into a lot of details, but that's just to say that business mindset, self leadership skills, they go together. One is more on the broader mental attitude and your perception and thought, and the other is actually in handling things on a practical level as you manage things, and you get to address a lot of things that come your way. How do you direct yourself, navigate the whole situation on an day-to-day basis? How do you run your days? The routine that you have, is it a good one? Is it helping? What time do you get out of bed, and what time do you go to bed, and what do you do with your time? All of those things are part of the self-leadership skills that are critical for successful business development. And that is really one of the things we discuss at the summit. And then financial literacy, our relationship to money, we talk about that at the summit. So, it's an important topic, because you could be very competent, you could have a lot of skills, you could even have very good self leadership skills, you manage yourself well in terms of how doing things. But when it comes to business, well, business, at the center of it, there is money, and you need to have good relationship with money. You need to know how to manage money. So we talk about financial literacy. We talk about how to raise money, how to manage money, and how to invest money. That is very important. They don't always teach us these things at school. So when you are wanting to go into business, or you're already in business, if you want to pay attention to how you manage money, your financial literacy, you will actually achieve a lot more. There are people who actually have good businesses that give them a lot of money, but because they don't manage that money well, they end up failing. So you may not necessarily have all the skills. You got to find the right person to work with, and then take time to develop the skills so that you don't depend on somebody. Ultimately, business is about money, and how you manage money, how you raise money, how you invest money. All of that are critical skills that will determine how successful you can become in business. And the summit uh, has a specific panel discussion and presentation that will talk from a very practical level in relation to this sort of thing. And then other topics of the summit will include youth entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship, and social entrepreneurship. Because what we do at the summit is not just about commercial enterprise; it's also about social enterprise. And if we want to change our communities, if we want the Afropreneur, sorry, the African community to have more entrepreneurs, to become more successful, then we ought to be able to do what we need to do to impact our youth. Young people need to have that coaching and mentorship uh, opportunities that we, as perhaps more senior business owners and leaders in the community, we can provide. We also need to see how we can encourage more women. In fact, this is already happening, and I'm very happy. The last summit that we organized in Adelaide, we had more women than men, and that's very, very encouraging, because if you want to educate a nation, educate women, they say. And if women are really active in a particular space, it means that the younger generation, the new generation, will be impacted, and also men will also profit from that, because they have partners that can assist them in what they are doing in the best possible way. So that's an important topic. Social entrepreneurship. I mentioned this earlier. When we hold the summit, it's not just about money and business. It's also about how we impact our communities. So, and we use established business practices to manage community projects, to manage charities, so that we can build institutions that impact on people's lives. Nowadays there is an important sort of marriage between business and social impact. Even those who are very successful in business, they're always looking also of how they can, impact their society. And we're talking here about perhaps providing funding to run, charities to help those who can't help themselves, or even trying to teach, to educate and empower people more in the business sector, in entrepreneurship, because in order for us to to transform our societies, we need to have those skills that are very prevalent in the community. And then another topic that we talk about at the summit is breaking barriers and building futures. By the way, I may have forgotten to mention this previously, but the whole summit, the theme of the summit is breaking barriers and building futures. Yes, we want to be able to break all the barriers, both those that are within us and those that are without, external. We need to break them so that we can keep on making progress. And we need to build a future for ourselves. We can't expect that our future will be uh, given to us by anyone, whether it's in the Australian context or in the sort of broader diaspora context as African people, or in the continent. We have to take our economic future into our own hands, because if you have a look at it, many of countries in Africa really don't have a proper economy. Because when you look at Australia has, I think, it's about $4 trillion economy, and for only about 20, 25,000, I mean, 20 million, uh, you know, population. And then you take a country like where I come from in the Congo, there's about 100 million, and the economy there is estimated about 15, $16 billion. I mean, the last budget from the Congolese government was 16 billion. So divide that per capita, you get very little money. And that means, just even though we have big countries, even though we have a large population, but the economies have not developed enough. And who's going to do that? It's us. Yes, there's a political leadership issues, but we should not just assume that everything will be resolved by politicians. There's that dilemma that we have, and that dichotomy that we have in our African, countries, where, as much as we know that politicians are the ones who actually create most of the problems we have, we also expect them to resolve these problems. No, they are good at creating problems they won't resolve. So the only way we can change is either we get into the political field and trying to change things from there, and that's usually very tough. A lot of the people who've come from the diaspora and have gone into politics in the continent have become corrupt themselves. So what you need to do is, another thing you can consider is how you impact the society. Start a project that educate and empower the population, because if we get a population that is more educated and empowered, gradually they will start resisting all the mediocrity, they'll start resisting the corruption, and they'll start doing things that will help to improve the whole leadership exercise in the society, from an individual level to a family level to a community level and to a national level. And that's how things will change. And it's incumbent on us as African professionals and entrepreneurs to try to do something about this. We have the capacity and the resources to do that, and we can do it if we want to do so. I will stop here. It was just pretty much a half-hour discussion, which I'll be holding almost every day from now to the day when the summit takes place in Brisbane on the 14th of September. That is not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So if you're watching this, I encourage you, if you have not yet registered, please register, and also share that this video, this post, this publication with anyone you know in the Brisbane or Queensland area. We want to reach out to as many Africans as possible, both those who are in business already and those who may not necessarily be in business, but they may be business minded. So this summit is for business minded and business entrepreneurs in the community, as well as social entrepreneurs. So share that widely, and tag a friend that is likely to be interested. Maybe give him a call or send him a text, and that will be very much appreciated. So it's going to be a wonderful event. After Brisbane, we will have then the summit in Melbourne on the 26th of October. And actually, no, before Melbourne, we have Perth. Perth is coming up on the 19th of October. And then 1 week after that, it will be Melbourne. So people in Perth, well, we're coming, and we have really a wonderful plan for you guys in Perth, because we know Perth is really a place where there's a lot of business happening. There are a lot of African professionals. Some of them are now really transitioning into business, and we have to do all we can to try to encourage this movement to increase. And that's part of what we're doing when we're bringing the Afropreneur Summit to WA. So until next time, we wish you wonderful things from now to maybe tomorrow, or when we come to your city for summits. So just to remind everyone, next summit, I mean, obviously the next summit is Brisbane on the 14th of September. After that, it will be Perth on the 19th of October, and then Melbourne on the 26th of October, and Sydney 9th of November. So it's very busy for us, as you can imagine. We're putting all these events together. So, but we're very excited, and we are happy that we are able to make these things happen. All right. Thank you, and see ya.